your sorry ass is gone. I'm tired of cheating and running around. Never saw the wrong in anything you've done. Whiskey's gone, but I ain't leaving. There's gotta be a bottle in the back. Whiskey's gone, but I ain't leaving. Gotta get this devil off my. Well, I stumbled my way down to the local bar.
Good morning. I'm Aaron Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
Are you Tobin Brinker?
I am.
Oh, there you go. Your mic's on now.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So excited to have you with us this morning. It is Tuesday, and the dawn, or the before dawn, seemed to have come back, earlier or sooner. I couldn't wake up this morning.
Yeah, mornings are coming too early, but you know what? I'm still on Hawaii time.
I see you dancing with your puka shells.
Yeah, so yesterday I wore my Hawaiian shirt. Today I've got my puka shells. I'm holding on with a very tight grip. The next phase of this is that you and I will be making little drinks for ourselves at home with little umbrellas in them.
Yes.
To remind us of our trip.
Remind us of the trip. Actually, station and Tobin and I were the only ones who were not in line, or whose opinion was not aligned with those of the student marchers this past weekend.
Yes.
Tobin and I are not pro-gun control.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, in the conversation, one of our group members suggested that instead of saying gun control, we should be saying gun safety. Gun control sounds really harsh, like you want to take away everyone's guns. And gun safety, a lot of the ideas that are being talked about are really just sort of gun safety ideas, like to make sure that people have to go through some sort of background check and training before you give them a gun.
Yes. Well, that's completely aligned with what the NRA wants.
Yeah, and I think about we didn't let our kids drive a car until they were able to pass a test and and do some things. I mean, it seems to me that's a reasonable request.
I agree. What I found was interesting, and so I'm was in favor of exploring the idea of arming teachers who want to be armed, right?
Yes.
And the education community unequivocally pushes back. And I'll admit my stance. So one of the people in the group is a former school board member in San Bernardino, and she said, there's people who want to do that. And I raised my hand and said, yeah, I'm one of those people. And specifically when I said I supported that, I was thinking of, we've got some friends who are teachers who are avid marksmen. They are at the range a lot. One of them went to the Olympics as a sharpshooter. And the other one, he is the master of gun safety and has weapons and shoots a lot, and
yes.
And so I thought, well, those individual teachers, if they wanted to step up and pack some heat, then yeah, I'm completely in favor of that. But the rest of the education community has pushed back. I'm not part of I guess I am part of the education community, has pushed back so hard. It's like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to give up that ghost.
Yeah. I suggested that, they keep talking about giving teachers guns. What about the idea of giving teachers less lethal ways of defending themselves, And everyone looked at me like I'm crazy, you're going to take on a shooter with your pepper spray?
Well, yeah, but right now you're taking on a shooter with your body.
Exactly. We've got nothing, and I just, I think that might be useful, and also to make some very sensible changes, like, for instance, putting a way to lock the classroom door on the inside of the classroom. Right now, every school door in my school, in order to lock the room, you actually have to go outside of the classroom, put the key in the door, lock it, and then go back inside the classroom. That's the only way to lock your door. And so, that makes it a little bit challenging. If there's a bad guy in the hallway, you certainly aren't going to go out in the hallway to lock your door.
Yes, there has to be a way.
There has to be a way
to secure the door.
Yeah,
and the doors are pretty thick. Do you think the doors would, if there was a blast, do you think the doors or the walls would stop the bullet?
I don't know if they would stop the bullet, but I think they would certainly make it much harder for them to get in the room where you were at, trying to hide out. They wouldn't be able to just shoot a couple times into the door and then break the door down. The doors are, like you said, really solid. They would have to expend a lot of bullets to get through that door.
Right.
And so I just think that's something that's pretty pretty sensible, pretty easy.
Well, and the thing that struck me as well is they talked about, see, it said we need to get rid of assault rifles, and I have asked this question before. What is an assault rifle? And people say, well, you know what it is. I'm like, no, really, I don't. What is an assault rifle? Because there's not an official definition of what an assault rifle is.
Yeah.
They say high capacity magazines. They say, the ability to shoot bullets very fast. And I said, well, okay, if you're talking about semi-automatic, and I've said this before, all it means is that the next bullet automatically chambers when you fire.
Yeah.
So but that describes, it's just about every gun, every weapon sold in America today, has that the next bullet automatically chambers itself.
Yeah, I think the thing is, people don't like the guns that have high capacity magazines, where you can have 10 or more bullets that can be loaded into the gun very quickly. And so if you've got one that can only hold a couple bullets at a time, I think people would say that's not an assault weapon. Yeah,
okay, but I mean, what guns are like that are being sold right now? Almost all guns being sold right now have some sort of. I mean, I shouldn't say almost all. It'd be interesting to. I'm not a gun expert.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that many of the guns that are sold right now have a magazine, a clip that carries more than 2 or 3 bullets.
No, I know.
Mean, even a 6-shooter has 6 bullets.
I know. And that's, I think, the question. I mean, that's where do you draw the line? 6, 8, 10.
Okay, well, and here's the flip side. And I brought this up and kind of got poo-pooed, about this. Look at the war on drugs. And, so we have strict gun control in the United States. We're going to take everybody's guns away. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that everybody had their guns taken away. We would still have a major problem with guns, but only criminals would have them. Because I'm certain that the local gang members don't go to the Walmart to buy their guns.
No, they don't. We actually have an interesting story that you found today that talks about where people are getting some of their guns from, and I was shocked. By the source of these guns, Aaron.
Go for it.
Police officers are illegally selling guns that they're not supposed to have. And 2 Gardena police officers were charged with illegally selling more than 100 guns. And this comes after we had that story last month or a couple months ago about an officer in Pasadena that was doing the same thing. So 2 Gardena police officers have been indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of using their position to acquire firearms and illegally selling more than 100 of the weapons to others, including a convicted felon. Detective Carlos Miguel Fernandez, 42, and Officer Edward Yasushiro Arau, 47, faced combined 5 felony counts, including conspiring to deal in firearms without a license, according to an indictment unsealed Friday in a U.S. District Court. In one 2017 sale, Fernandez knew he was selling to a straw buyer who wasn't the actual person getting the gun, according to the indictment. The person who eventually received the weapon was a convicted felon banned from possessing firearms. Now, it's a kind of a fairly long article. I'm going to jump down to some of the better parts here. Apparently, police officers can purchase weapons that you and I cannot, right?
Right.
And that's what they were doing. They were buying guns that you and I couldn't get. And the one officer was particularly interested in getting Colt 38 caliber handguns that would not be available to you and I, right? And he then sold these through the internet to people, and he'd meet up with them, and also sold them at gun shows.
He used Instagram to sell his weapons.
He used Instagram to sell his weapons, and in one instance, he sold the gun to a guy by the name of Oscar Morales Camacho Sr., a 63-year-old man, who certified that he was purchasing the gun for himself, but in fact was purchasing it for his son, Oscar Maravilla Camacho Jr., who was actually a criminal and who was prohibited from possessing a firearm. So the dad was buying the gun for his kid, a 34-year-old kid, who was a criminal, who wasn't allowed to own the gun, right? And the cops knew this and were selling the guns anyway. And they have direct message conversations with some of these buyers, and this is their evidence that they're going to put in for these guys, and it's pretty it's upsetting.
So one of the things that we talked about last night was making it so that everybody who sells a firearm has to go through or purchase a firearm has to go through a background check, even if it's a person-to-person private sale. So right now, Tobin could sell a gun to our next-door neighbor without having to go through that next door neighbor having to go through any background check at all. Yeah. So it's private sale. You don't have to do that. And this is how obviously these police officers were able to fly under the radar for a period of time.
Well, and people at our meeting last night referred to it as like when you buy a used car, you still have to go down to the DMV and transfer title of the vehicle. You know, there's paperwork that you have to do to show that you've transferred that car to somebody else. And it should be the same thing with a gun, right? If you sell a gun to somebody else, you should have to go down to some registry and say, okay, here's the paperwork, here's the gun, here's what, now they have it, and register that. And I think that's reasonable.
So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we will be right back.
Know your rights and responsibilities. You're a hardworking student. You've grown up here. You're striving and working towards the American dream. You're a dreamer and maybe you need to renew your DACA deferral. Now is the time to take action. On January 9th, the district court ordered a halt to President Trump's efforts to terminate the deferred action for childhood arrivals or DACA. And now the Department of Homeland Security is now accepting DACA renewal applications. Now you can get free DACA renewal assistance from the Todek Legal Center. The Todek Center may also provide you with payment assistance with up to $495 in immigration fees to renew. Stay here, stay home, stay with your family. You're valued, loved, wanted, and needed. Get free legal screening and consultation, application assistance, and legal representation. For more info, search todec.org. That's TODEC.org. Or call for upcoming workshops at 951-943-1955. That's 951-943-1955 for the Todek Legal Center. And dream on.
Hey Ryan, do we have any beer in the fridge?
Nah, I thought you got some.
The game starts in 5 minutes.
And you drank the last beer at midnight on Friday.
I wish there was a place that delivered beer.
Yes, I'm Captain Crafted. I'm here to bring you beer. That's Captain, C-R-A-F-T''D. Why? Because there's no E, just a D, as in deliver, because Captain Crafted delivers.
That's right, the Crafted Beer Store in Redlands is now open for business with great prices and deliveries of your favorite beer, wine, spirits, water, ice, and mixers. Did I mention their great prices? That's CRAFTDBEER store.com or Fred Crafted Beer Store on Facebook.com. Make it easy. Google Redlands Beer Delivery. Look for Crafted Beer.
Crafted Beer Store in Redlands is now open for business, and I'm here to deliver.
KCAA Radio is proud to announce that the Tri-City Center in Redlands is our new home. We're fortunate to be located among some of the best businesses in the region. Among our neighbors are Ray Chiropractic, Brace Connection Orthodontist, Pain Solutions Medical Massage, Rent-A-Center, MVP Staffing Agency, Jenny Craig, Salon Centric, and many more. The Tri-City Shopping Center is located just off the I-10 between Alabama and the Tennessee exits in Redlands. The Tri-City Center is the mall with the heart. If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email CEO@kcaaradio.com.
Education is a right, not a privilege, and it is the civil rights issue of our generation. And Latino students disproportionately bear the crux of our educational crisis. The campus of Cal State San Bernardino is pleased to host the annual LEAD Summit, along with hundreds of viewing sites across the nation and globe, working together with our media partners to raise awareness and enhance the intellectual, cultural, and personal development of our community's educators, administrators, leaders, parents, and students. Please join us on Thursday, March 29th for the 9th annual observance of Latino Education and Advocacy Days as we convene those sharing a common interest and commitment to the educational issues that impact Latinos. For more information, please visit leadsummit.csusb.edu. Again, that website is leadsummit.csusb.edu. The LEAD Summit, Latino Education and Advocacy Days, taking place Thursday, March 29th at Cal State San Bernardino.
KCAA, where every day is a great day.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. We're talking about gun control, and one of the pieces of the discussion that happened last night was talking about the Second Amendment. Now, there are those who interpret the Second Amendment as saying that it only applies to a, quote, well-regulated militia, meaning like a National Guard.
Yeah.
But I don't read it the same way, and the Supreme Court hasn't read it the same way.
Yeah.
Excuse me, had to cough. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution reads, quote, a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed. And those commas are important, so I'll read it without the commas. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Meaning, so you have to put it into context. A well-regulated militia meant people just with their guns, the guns that they owned, and would come to. They're the ones who fought off the biggest, most powerful army in the world, which was the British Army. The founders, coming from tyranny, the tyranny of the monarchy, understood that if the people are armed, they're harder to control and oppress.
Yes.
And that is why the Second Amendment was written into the Constitution, because an armed citizenry is more powerful against against tyranny than just about anything else.
Well, and you can think of several incidences from our American history that teach this lesson very well. The American Revolution started, we talk about the shot heard around the world at Lexington and Concord, but it started because the British were coming to collect the guns, right? They heard that the rebels, the American rebels, had guns in Lexington and Concord. And so they were on their way to get that cache of guns. They sent a group of soldiers to get the guns. And that's when the fighting began, right? And then you could look at other examples of people who have attempted to start rebellions. What's the first thing they try to do?
Take the guns.
They try to get the guns. And so, this is just straight out of the history books. And so, we were talking last night, and someone even said that they thought part of the reason that Japan never tried a land invasion of the United States, the reason they stopped at Hawaii, was because the American citizenry is so well armed, right? They knew that a ground assault...
I had read that as well.
Yeah, they knew that a ground assault, any attempt to land on the mainland, would be basically fighting in the streets, house to house, against people that had guns. It wasn't like you could just, come ashore and take over large swaths without, before you ran into the military.
March down the Champs-Élysées in France, and everybody has their hands up. That's not the United States.
No, it's not. And so, and I know people say, well, it hasn't been used. Well, that's the reason. It hasn't been used because we have it, right? If we didn't have it, then we'd be, maybe we would have been conquered already and be like, well, I wish we had guns. It's meant as a deterrent, and I think it works.
And the thing about it too is there's an idea. The United States, America is an idea more than anything else. It's an idea. This idea that we are responsible for our own selves. That freedom and liberty are prime. More than equality, because equality is really equality and fraternity. That's the French Revolution. The American Revolution was about liberty more than anything else, and also about opportunity, but not outcomes, not equality in outcomes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what keeps us free is the right and the ability to protect ourselves. And now, of course, that's an overarching idea, but there's still people, myself included, who believe in that overarching idea. But we've gotten to a place where you're considered a kook if you believe that the Second Amendment, that this foundational Second Amendment was put in there to protect yourself from the government. Like you're thinking that the government's going to come get you.
Yeah.
No, you're missing the point. It's the idea that that the citizenry has the power.
Yeah.
not the government itself. That rights are not granted to you by government. They're granted to you because of natural law, because of something beyond the government that we have created for ourselves has given us the right to determine our own future.
Well, one of the important things that I try to get across when I teach about our Constitution is that our Constitution creates a limited government. Right?
Yes.
The way it's written, the Constitution is designed to put some very clear limits on what the government can and cannot do.
And they even had a conversation during the time of the founding, and then I apologize for interrupting. About whether the Bill of Rights should be added at all, because it was not supposed to be an exhaustive list.
Yeah. Well, and that was the concern, is that future generations would look at the Bill of Rights and think these are the only rights that you have, and therefore come to the conclusion that you got these rights because government gave them to you, as opposed to the idea that we just have these rights naturally, and when we wrote them down, we were simply just saying that these are the ones we want to make sure government doesn't trample on.
So, and I have to say that the idea of an armed citizenry pushing back against an overarching or overreaching government has a modern example of this working in the Bundy standoff, the Clive Bundy standoff in Nevada. And the 2014 standoff was an armed confrontation between supporters of cattle rancher Cliven Bundy and law enforcement following a 21-year legal dispute in which the United States Bureau of Land Management obtained court orders directing Bundy to pay over $1 million in withheld grazing fees for Bundy's use of federally owned land adjacent to Bundy's ranch in southeastern Nevada. The ongoing dispute started in 1993 when, in protest against changes in grazing rules, Bundy declined to renew his permit for cattle grazing on BLM-administered public lands near Bunkerville, Nevada, which basically should be called Podunk, Nevada.
Yeah.
According to Bundy, the federal government lacks the constitutional authority to own vast tracts of land, an argument repeatedly rejected by the federal courts. According to the BLM, Bundy continued to graze his cattle on public lands without a permit. In 1998, Bundy was prohibited by the United States District Court for the District of Nevada from grazing his cattle on an area of land later called the Bunkerville Allotment. In July 2013, Federal Judge Lloyd D. George ordered Bundy to refrain from trespassing on federally administered land in the Gold Butte area of Clark County, which is the county that Las Vegas sits in. On March 27, 2014, 145,604 acres of federal land in Clark County were temporarily closed for the capture, impound, and removal of trespass cattle. BLM officials and law enforcement rangers began a roundup of such livestock on April 5th, and an arrest was made the next day. On April 12, 2014, a group of protesters, some of them armed, approached the BLM cattle gatherer, Sheriff Doug Gillespie, negotiated with Bundy and newly confirmed BLM director Neil Corns, who elected to release the cattle and de-escalate the situation. As of the end of 2015, Cliven Bundy continued to graze his cattle on federal land and had not yet paid the grazing fees. On February 10th, 2016, Cliven Bundy traveled to Portland, Oregon in response to a federal law enforcement moving to end the standoff led by his sons Ammon and Ryan in the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. He was arrested at the airport by the FBI and was incarcerated at the Multnomah County Jail. He was indicted for 16 federal felonies on February 17th, along with Ammon and Ryan Bundy. Militia leader Ryan Payne and broadcaster Peter Santilli, who are already under arrest for their role in that Malheur standoff. Another 14 individuals were charged. On March 3rd in 2016, Santilli subsequently pled guilty to felony conspiracy to injure or impede a federal officer. On January 8th, 2018, the U.S. District Court Judge Gloria Navarro in Las Vegas dismissed with prejudice the criminal charges against Cliven Bundy, his sons Ammon and Ryan, and co-defendant Ryan Payne regarding the standoff.
So the way I understand this is that those cows were undocumented cows.
They were undocumented cows.
They were on the property, but they didn't have the proper documents to allow them to be on that property. And the Bundy folks, the Clive and Bundy folks, were trying to protect and defend those undocumented cows. And I think a lot of people could get behind. No, really. I mean, this is seriously what happened.
Yes, I know, but okay. Yes, go ahead.
And he was simply trying to defend the undocumented cows. I find a lot of humor in this story, and I remember when it was happening and being kind of shocked at the standoff about all this.
But they won.
They did win. They did win. You know, it was government overreach. It was way too heavy-handed. Yeah, it's and the government's done this. You know, it's funny again as a history teacher, you don't have to look very hard to find numerous examples of the government abusing people's rights. Our second president of the United States, John Adams, right? The Alien and Sedition Acts. They were arresting publishers and throwing them in jail for printing things that the president didn't like.
That's exactly what they fought a revolution against.
The First Amendment clearly says freedom of the press, right? And second president, and they had, because they had large majorities. It was the Federalist Party. They had large majorities in Congress, and every judge on the federal bench at that time was a Federalist. Nobody stepped in to protect these people, and that's where the states' rights movement was born. Thomas Jefferson was the first guy to push the states' rights idea, the idea of nullification, and you know, right from the beginning of the country, we've been arguing and fighting about this stuff.
It's important stuff.
The second president.
You want to say, dude, really?
You know, you helped to write the dang thing. How do you not know that you can't do that? Yeah.
So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. Porn star Stormy Daniels is suing President Trump's lawyer for defamation. The day after her 60 Minutes interview detailing the affair she said she had with Donald Trump, Daniels filed a suit accusing lawyer Michael Cohen of portraying her as a liar. The new legal action is tagged onto Daniels' previous suit to get out of an agreement to keep quiet about the alleged affair. She was reportedly paid $130,000 in hush money. The White House says Trump has denied having an affair with Daniels. Federal authorities are investigating half a dozen suspicious packages sent to military installations and government buildings in the Washington, D.C. area.
The FBI and the military are investigating to determine whether any of the packages contained working explosive devices.
Mark Mayfield, no injuries reported. And former Presidents Jimmy Carter, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton are expected to speak today at the funeral of former Georgia Governor Zell Miller in Atlanta. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
It's time for traffic on KCAA. I'm Erin Brinker. In Corona on the 91 westbound at the 71, an accident there has been cleared. There's still some residual stop-and-go traffic from the 15. Traffic stays busy ahead to Green River Road. The 71 south is slow from Butterfield Ranch Road down to the 91. This has been your traffic on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. I'm Erin Brinker.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Rod Tanner. For this morning, we have a wind advisory in effect. It'll be sunny with a high of 74 as winds gust at 30 miles an hour. Tonight, it'll be clear with a low of around 50. We'll have a sunny, warmer Wednesday with a high of 79. We'll have clear skies Wednesday night with a low of 53. Thursday should be a sunny day, our high 81. Thursday night, it'll be clear with a low of 55. Friday, we'll have sunny skies and a high of 81. I'm Rod Tanner, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA 102.3 FM Riverside, 106.5 FM Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Hi, it's Jan Elliott in Snow Country, and this brought to you by Indeed. Used by over 3 million businesses for hiring, business owners and HR professionals can post job openings with screener questions. Then sort, review, and communicate with candidates from an online dashboard. Learn more at Indeed.com/hire. Spring conditions on tap today with some sunny skies, mountain high with 5 runs, skiing from West Resort, and the terrain park still chock full of elements. Now at Snow Summit, spring conditions up to 16 trails. June Mountain with just about every run open. That's 39 trails off of 6 lifts. lifts. China Peak skiing all week long. 45 open trails, 5 lifts spinning there. Pack powder conditions. Now at Squaw Valley, they've got up to 60% of the mountain open and over 80% for Alpine Meadows. They're both reporting pack powder conditions. In Arizona, the Arizona Snow Bowl with 40 runs if you're heading into the Colorado Rockies. Crested Butte, spring conditions as well. Over 100 trails open. More at snowcountry.com. I'm Jan Elliott on the trifecta of Talk 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM, the stations that leave no listener behind.
The Inland Empire's radio home for the Dave Ramsey Show.
If you want to mess around with the Bitcoin thing and you're in that world a little bit, that's fine. But don't put your freaking life savings in it, doofus.
KCAAradio.com.
We can't be everything to everyone, or can we? The station that leaves no listener behind, KCAA.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA. So excited to have you with us. As I always say, I want to let you know all the ways you can follow us on social media. I am Erin Hunt Brinker on Facebook. This show is facebook.com/KCAA Morning Show. Tobin is Tobin Brinker on Facebook and Tobin Brinker on Instagram. I'm Erin Brinker on Instagram. At Aaron Songbird on Twitter. I know it's different, but I did it a long time ago. And we'd love to have you follow us and interact with us on social media. I'm so excited to welcome to the show Michelle Harris. She's from Alive and Well TV, and she joins us once a month to talk about all kinds of fun things and pop culture and current events. She's a television personality and lifestyle expert. As the host of the nationally airing lifestyle television series Alive and Well, Michelle provides information that help entertain and inspire her viewers to look and feel their best. Her passion for helping her live their very best is evident when watching Alive and Well. She's not just a host, but this is the way she lives her life, and it's part of her experience: health, beauty, home, and all aspects. I'm having a trouble today. All aspects of what it means to live well. She's also an animal rights activist and a lover of animals. And Tobin and I have 5 rescue pets at home, and so we just think the world of her. Michelle, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. It's always great to be here, and I know we are both fellow animal lovers.
Yes.
So I thought this would be a great day to kind of deviate from our normal health, beauty, and wellness stuff that we do and talk about the fact that Easter is this weekend, and that means people may consider getting an Easter bunny. And so we want to let people know, because I have my own rescue house bunnies, that they really need to consider whether or not a rabbit is the right pet for them and make an informed decision. And I definitely recommend not buying one for Easter either way, because you don't ever want to get a pet on a whim. That's right off the bat. But bunnies actually make wonderful companion animals. They can be litter trained. They should be spayed and neutered, just like your cats and dogs should be. My bunnies run around my house like a cat or dog. We do have to bunny proof so they don't chew up all the cords and possibly hurt themselves and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of things people don't realize about bunnies. And Erin, I didn't know if you were aware that bunnies, can be litter trained.
I did not know, because we had bunnies growing up, and they would leave their duties around. We'd have to follow them around and pick up their little duties. And they weren't terribly. I mean, they didn't leave a big mess, but they're animals, and living, breathing things have waste, and they are no different.
So, and they're much easier to litter train after they've been spayed or neutered, for starters. But that is a great thing. If they're part of the family. If you're keeping them outside or caged, then they're not really part of the family, and they like to be part of the family. A lot of bunnies, though, many times people are buying it for their kids, and that's not a great idea, because bunnies usually don't do so well around children. They tend to be more skittish, and they don't like to be picked up. Genetically, they're prey animals, so if something's picking them up, they think, oh my gosh, it's going to eat me. That's just in their genetic code. So a lot of times if you're buying them for your children, maybe not the best pet for you is a pet who's going to be scared easily by loud noises and sudden movements or being picked up. They are, especially if you live by yourself or you want to adopt a pair, because you can go to a shelter and adopt a bonded pair of rabbits. Then they're litter trained, and they can be home and have each other for company. So if you work during the day, I think they're a great pet for someone like that, because then they have each other and they have you when you get home, and they're fine with the litter box and leaving food out for them. And one thing people don't understand is a rabbit's diet. A rabbit's diet should be largely comprised of hay, and rabbit pellets are a small part of that, and they should be the kind of pellets that don't have a bunch of seeds and everything, and just straight Timothy pellets. And also they need fresh greens every day. So they have a very specialized diet too. And rabbits also live 10 years.
Yes.
So they're not like getting a hamster who unfortunately will only live a couple of years. So you're talking about a 10-year commitment to an animal that's going to need veterinary care, that may not be a good fit with your family. Like if you have, let's say, a dog or cat with a strong hunting instinct, you definitely don't want to put a rabbit into the mix of that.
No, that's cruel.
Yes. So the rabbits can do well with cats and some dogs. So it's not to say that you can't get a rabbit if you have one of those other pets. Many times that's one of the best reasons to adopt. Is sometimes they'll allow you to foster the animal and see if it's a good fit for you. So you can go to your local shelter and talk to them about adopting a rabbit and see if they'll allow you to maybe foster to adopt. And kind of say, okay, I think I'd like a bunny. I've never had one before. Let's see if this is a good fit for my family. But we kind of say at this time of the year, make mine chocolate, because the best bunny you can get for Easter, even though I'm an advocate for health and wellness, is a chocolate one.
Exactly.
It's okay to have a treat once in a while. And most of the rabbits that are purchased at Easter time will only make it a year long. They either end up dying because people aren't informed of proper care. Many times the pet stores don't even know about proper rabbit care. When I found my first rabbit who was dumped in a park, that's how I got involved with having bunnies as pets, the people at the local pet store really didn't know much about proper rabbit care. So we just found out by going to a rescue group, and that's how we learned, what was the best thing for our rabbits. So also, people think it's okay if you, quote unquote, they think they're setting them free if they put them in a park. What you're really doing is making them coyote food, hawk food. Domestic bunnies don't really have the ability to survive. When bunnies are wild bunnies, they still have very shortened lifespans because they, are prey. But at least their mentality when they're born, because they're not the same as a domestic rabbit, is they at least have some coping mechanisms. Domestic rabbits don't have any, so you're not setting them free, you're making them food.
They have different personalities too. One of the things is like I said, we had them growing up, and some of them were super cuddly and super sweet, and others were a little more feisty. So like any pet, you have to pay attention to the personality of the animal that you're choosing.
Exactly, and that's another great reason to adopt, and not to adopt a baby bunny, because guess what? If you adopt a rabbit, most shelters, they know the personalities of those bunnies, and they're going to try and match you with the right rabbit. So that way it helps you make the best choice possible. But again, just don't do it on a whim for Easter. Make sure it's the best fit for you, and just have a chocolate rabbit this Easter. But they do make wonderful pets if it's a good fit, and I strongly recommend adopting a rabbit if you're, considering that may be a good pet for you. And you can also go to rabbit.org. is one of the best places to find out more about bunnies and bunny adoption, and then calling your local shelter.
I think people also get chicks and little ducks for Easter. you should never get a pet on a whim. And I say this, and my husband's looking at me going, yeah, right, because I have gotten pets on a whim. But I am a seasoned pet owner.
Yes, you are.
Well, you don't get them on a whim. You see animals in need, and you rescue them.
Exactly.
Just like myself. That's not a whim. That's called being an animal rescuer. And that's why we have a lot of pets, but we also know how to take care of them and know what their needs are. And that's really the best thing for any family, is just to make sure it's a great fit for you. Whatever, regardless of the animal, definitely, like you said, don't get a chick, don't get a duck. You know, they're going to have special needs too, so you want to be sure that this is the right pet for you. And of course, whatever the animal is, adopt. There's so many, you know, whether it's a cat, a dog, a rabbit, there's all different breeds and types available at shelters all across Southern California.
So Easter is a time, and I'm putting you on the spot because we really were just talking about animals this time, but Easter is a time when people tend to overeat. You know, how do you eat healthy at Easter?
Well, you eat healthy at Easter. I'm doing something different this year. We're doing a brunch, and for me, it's a time when you're getting all this new, great spring produce. So what better time to have some grilled asparagus and to have fresh berries and all of this wonderful produce that you can incorporate. And that way it makes it a little bit lighter, and that's why I decided to do a brunch. It's fun, it's a little bit different, and we can have a lot of light and healthy foods instead of a big traditional Easter dinner. And you still can have a healthy Easter dinner, but you just want to put in a lot of produce, as much as you can. And when you're looking at your kind of more dessert foods and things like that, consider things with fresh fruit, because that's always the healthiest dessert option.
We are
and
so
you get
spoiled.
Great nutrients from that too.
Oh, sorry. Yes. We are so spoiled in Southern California. The access to this wonderful produce in farmers markets or in our supermarkets that not everyone in the country has access to.
That is true. And you can also use frozen is the second best option. So there's a lot of things you can do with frozen fruits and vegetables as well to make them taste great. You can always go to our website at aliveandwell.tv and check out some of our great recipes and things, and on our Facebook page as well. But that's really, the best thing that you could do for any holiday. Any holiday can be healthy, and also keep in mind portion control. But if you just want to load up your plate with those, you want the rainbow on your plate. If your plate is a rainbow of color, then you're doing the right thing.
Well, Michelle, it's always a delight to have you on. We are completely out of time. How do people follow you, find you, and watch Alive and Well?
You can go to our website, aliveandwell.tv. Alive and Well is syndicated, so check your local listings. And if you're lucky like me, you have one of those remotes that you can just talk into it, and you can just say Alive and Well. That makes things really easy. And on Facebook, just go to Facebook, Alive and Well TV.
Well, Michelle Harris, thank you so much. It's always a delight to have you on the show. We look forward to talking to you next month.
Thank you, Erin. Have a great holiday.
You too. All right, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
And now, Inland Empire Today with Blake Trolley.
Today in entertainment, we have an update on American Idol. Let's check in.
They call the rising sun.
American Idol moving on to Hollywood. The show wrapping up its last set of auditions, giving out the last golden ticket to a returning singer.
And it's been the wind.
That was Ada Fox, who is vying to win this time around after being booted off of season 12. Judges Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Luke Bryan also sent through a girl from Orange County who delivered a rendition of Perry's I Kissed a Girl, and a guy hoping to be the first of his siblings to make it big after moving out of Alabama. That's entertainment. Jennifer Pulsoni, NBC News Radio.
What if I told you you'd never have to make a house payment again? What if you could pay off much-needed home repairs and even create an income stream based on the value of your home? If you're 62 years old or older, you could be eligible for a reverse mortgage. Call Tim Harrison and find out if a reverse mortgage is right for you. Call Tim at 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475. Tim Harrison, branch manager, NMLS number 170960. Broadview Mortgage Corporation is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. License number 170952. Registered with the Nationwide Mortgage Licensing System and registry number 813B544. Broadview Mortgage, equal housing lender. Remember, if you never want to make a house payment again, except for property taxes, maintenance, and insurance, that's 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475.
This segment of broadcasting brought to you by Tender Hearts TLC Incorporated. Tender Hearts, the helping hands for your loved ones, where they understand it can be difficult to find time in your already busy schedule to attend to all the needs of your aging loved one. Tender Hearts will be there for your loved one when you can't be. Tender Hearts TLC helps your aging loved ones stay in their home as they specialize in tender, loving, 24-hour service, including transportation to doctor's appointments, medication reminders, meal preparation, light housekeeping, and assistance with activities of daily living such as hygiene and grooming, orientation, and companionship. We thank Tender Hearts for their support of this station. Tender Hearts TLC, where they don't just care for your loved one, they give them tender, loving care. For more info, you can reach them at 909-528-9759. That's 909-528-9759 for Tender Hearts TLC.
This is Dr. Mitch Gibson from The Mitch and Kathy Show. There's a lot of talk shows that give you a chance to air your opinions about politics. What about those other areas that you hold back on, such as those strange things that happen during sex? Join us and tell us all about these things that you really want to talk about. The Mitch and Kathy Show. Every Tuesday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Or 3 to 5 p.m. Pack time on 1050 a.m., 106.5 FM, or KCAAradio.com.
KCAA.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the brink, the morning show on KCAA. Love this song.
Fine as he can be. I met him at the big barn dance and he took a shine to me.
It's Dolly Parton, my favorite. We are on the brink, the morning show on KCAA. Did I say that?
Yeah.
I'm saying it again, just in case people forgot.
Just keep saying it.
Just keep saying it. All right. So there is some other news happening.
What's happening?
What's happening? So you know how the word of advice, you don't eat yellow snow. What if the snow is orange?
Okay. you threw me. I was trying to think where you're going with this. Orange snow?
Orange snow is falling all over Eastern Europe. I'm not making this up. The pictures are unreal. This article is from Newser. Had the Brothers Grimm traveled further east, we could have ended up with snow orange. That's the hue of the flakes falling over Eastern Europe, according to the BBC. And it's something that happens twice every decade or so, though it's a little more extreme this time around. It's a likely result of desert winds from the Sahara whipping up sands that are then combined with snow from Siberia. Though more sand is entering the mix that is typical. Russia, Georgia, Bulgaria, Ukraine, Romania, and Moldova have been experiencing it. Crazy, right? And they show this kid skiing on this, it looks like a dreamsicle, but not as orange as like the outside of the pop. It's the dreamsicle when it's mixed with the ice cream.
Yes. So it's not as orange as Trump, but a little. No, I'm just messing with you. That's interesting.
It's crazy.
Okay, so the title for this actually had me going at first because it says orange snow, but because we live so close to the National Orange Show, my brain kind of flipped it. And I'm like, orange show is falling in Eastern Europe. What?
That makes no sense at all.
And then I'm like, oh, it's snow.
Orange snow. That makes a lot more sense.
It does.
So Melania, that's if you've paid any attention to the big network news. I say network, like CNN, MSNBC.
Yeah.
It's all Stormy Daniels all of the time, and the First Lady's office. First Lady's been completely quiet about it. She knows who she's married to. The fact that he committed adultery is a secret to literally no one, including her.
She was his third wife. And he cheated on the first wife and then cheated on the second wife. So she knows this is who he is.
Yes.
Yes.
But that her office has come out and made a statement, and Tobin, I'm having issues.
Yes.
Her office has come out and made a statement that basically says, there's a minor child living in this house. Please keep him out of this.
Yeah. Yeah, it came from her spokesperson, Stephanie Grisham, who said, "While I know the media is enjoying speculation and salacious gossip, I'd like to remind people there's a minor child whose name should be kept out of the news stories when at all possible." And it was that sort of psychic slap in the face to these media hounds that are more interested in hyping up all of the lascivious details of Donald Trump's sex life and forget that he's actually a living, breathing human being who has family, who has kids, right? A middle school aged son, right, who's living there in the White House.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the level of frenzy. It's like a middle school campus or a high school campus with who's dating who and who's cheating on who and on whom, etc. The media has whipped itself up into a frenzy.
Yes, they have.
And I'm so tired of hearing about Stormy Daniels. And that's all I will say. I'm just done. So the Federal Trade Commission has confirmed it's investigating Facebook. They will investigate Facebook. The Federal Trade Commission is investigating Facebook's privacy practices following a week of privacy scandals, including whether the company engaged in, quote, unfair acts, unquote, that cause, quote, substantial injury, unquote, to consumers. The Facebook stock, which already took a big hit last week, plunged as a result. Facebook said in a statement on Monday that the company remains strongly committed to protecting people's information, and it welcomes the opportunity to answer the FTC's questions. News outlets reported on the FTC investigation last week, but the FTC had not confirmed it until Monday, which was yesterday. Facebook reached a settlement with the FTC in 2011, offering privacy assurances. Cambridge Analytica isn't Facebook's only privacy scandals. They've had others.
Yeah, it's funny, when you first read this about the FTC investigating Facebook, I thought to myself that there's someone over at the FTC who's now created an FTC Facebook page, and they're like, ooh, right? We've got our own page, and then someone clicks like, and they're like, ooh, we got our first like, and they're all, and that's how they're investigating, because they've got like their own Facebook page now, Aaron.
Well, here's the thing. If you're on Facebook, you have no privacy.
Yeah.
If you're using Google, you have no privacy. You don't pay for Facebook, but Facebook had enough of a profit model to be able to go public, to have investors in the first place, private investors, and then to be able to go public. They are earning money by selling your data, because how else would they earn it? They have ads. And there's some revenue there, but the big money comes from data mining.
Yeah, Zuckerberg is a billionaire, Aaron, a billionaire. And he's, quote-unquote, selling a free product.
Yes. No, he's not.
How did he do that?
Now, you and I are on Facebook, and I use Google for my business, and they're mining my data, and okay.
Well, what's the saying? If the product is free, guess what? You are the product.
Exactly. Exactly. So with that, we're completely out of time. I'm Aaron Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the brink, the morning show on KCAA. We're going to continue with a little Dolly Parton.
We're going to buy us a real good car, and we're going to drive around. We'll hold hands, touch and hug. He talks so sweet to me.